What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. And today's show is called, What Do You Deserve? Interesting thing to think about. So as I was sort of getting ready for the show, I was sort of thinking about this whole idea and how it is so important for us to get clear on what we actually do deserve, rather than being sort of at the mercy of other circumstances, other people, all kinds of stuff. And what we're going to arrive at by the end of the show is that, you know, when we acknowledge who we are and what we do and our contribution to the world, we take better care of ourselves. And when we take better care of ourselves, the natural offshoot of that is that we have more to give. It's sort of counterintuitive, right? It's sort of counterintuitive because you would maybe, or at least if you're someone like me, you would maybe have this idea that if I try to spend more time on myself when my schedule is already stretched pretty tight, that I'm actually going to deplete myself. And that's not true. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. So what do you deserve? We're talking about this, taking the focus off of everyone else, putting it back on yourself, and what kinds of changes that will create for you in your life. Are you ready? Yeah, this was something that I struggled with for a very long time. So this is something that's very close to my heart. So just in case we have new people viewing the show today, I go through a little bit of an intro kind of an idea so you understand what we do on Time to Rise and Thrive. What we do here is we focus on our subliminal soundtrack. We focus on getting it working for us rather than against us, and on recognizing your unique beauty, your unique special sauce, the contribution that you are to the world. When you can start to perceive yourself from that space, everything changes. Everything changes. So what is today about? Have you ever gotten caught up in this idea that it was your job to make others happy? Have you ever done that? I know I have. I have. So there are so many messages that tell us that it's our job to take care of other people before we take care of ourselves, right? It's that being selfless is good, being selfish is bad. Do you see what I'm saying? So we have so many messages in the media, in like every area of our lives, that tell us that in order to be a good person, we need to be this, this, and this, which is a perfect sort of lead into what is our subliminal soundtrack. When I talk about this is what I'm saying. Okay. So we all have this subliminal soundtrack that plays in the back of our minds all day, every day. It is made up of little bits of information that we've picked up throughout the course of our lives. So every relationship you've had, every conversation, every experience, every lesson, every single thing that has ever happened in your life has given you these little bits of information that we've stored back there on that subliminal soundtrack. And we use that information to create our belief systems. So what does it mean to love or be loved? What does it mean to have money or not have money? What does it mean? Everything is about what does it mean? Because that is what creates our perception and our perspective about anything and everything that happens in our world. Two really interesting pieces of information about this whole idea. The first is that what you believe to be true will be true for you, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. The second is that we use these belief systems to create our perception, our perspective, and process every single thing that happens in our lives. So if you've ever noticed, two people that see exactly the same thing and have completely different reactions, they are very likely functioning from a very different subliminal soundtrack. They have different messaging that tells them that this is good or this is bad. This is happy or this is sad. You know, even when we talk about death, for example, we lost a friend this week, and It was interesting because the friend that I heard about this from, her and I are very similar in how we perceive that transitioning out of this world, out of this life. And it was very interesting because there was a part of me that kind of went to the, I'm so, I'm so sorry to hear this because I'm going to miss this person. She was somebody that I really quite liked and cared about. And so I'm going to miss this person. And I'm so very sorry this happened. And then my friend said, yes, but with the stuff that was going on in her life, now she's free of that body, right? Now she's free of that body. It's an interesting thing. So you see, we have this perspective of death, for example, being the end of something or the a bad thing that happens, when in fact it may not be that at all, right? So those two sort of different ideas. We have a perspective that death is not necessarily the end, or whatever our belief systems are. And so that challenges some of the stuff that's more mainstream, right? This is why it's so very important for us to get clear on what's happening back there, because our belief systems will cause us to behave in certain ways, to react to things. Everything is influenced by your belief systems. So how does that relate to this idea of what do you deserve? If you believe that your job is to make other people happy, the first thing that I want to note is you are playing a losing game. There is no way to win that one. There is absolutely no way to win that one. And until you change that, their happiness will dictate how you feel. So you are actually sort of subject to the whims and decisions and emotions of another human being. Okay. Do you see how that could potentially put you in a position where there's no way to win this? There's no way to win this. I mean, something happens to them. You don't even know about it. You're off doing your own thing. They come to you and they're in a terrible mood. Do you see what I'm saying? If it's my job to make that person feel better, then I'm going to go into rescue mode right away. Right. And in fact, maybe whatever it was that happened wasn't even really that kind of a thing where I would get worked up about it. So when we put ourselves at the mercy of someone else's moods, their circumstances, their emotions, their whatever, it is playing a losing game. But if you believe that you deserve to be happy, you deserve to enjoy your life, you will look for opportunities all around you to make that happen, right? So you'll look for fun. You'll look for positive people that make you feel good. You'll look for those situations that bring joy and laughter and all of that kind of stuff into your life. When you focus on your own happiness, it does not mean that you don't do everything you can to be a positive contribution to other people. What it means is that you are making yourself the top priority, and you will be then functioning from a place of what makes me happy, as opposed to, oh no, somebody's upset, I need to fix it for them. The fact of the matter, and I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I think it's important to mention, the fact of the matter is that when we do that, we are actually creating a sort of dependence. Do you see what I'm saying? If it's my job to swoop in and rescue you every time something goes wrong, how do you ever learn how to solve your own problems? How do you ever learn how to regulate your own moods and emotion? How do you ever learn? Do you see what I'm saying? So there is a selfish component to this that we're going to get a little bit more into, but I want you to think about that as we're going through the show. Is being selfish and putting yourself and your own needs and desires sort of at the top of your priority list, is that really selfish? Or is it selfish to be creating that dependence on you of someone else? It's an interesting thing to consider. I have no judgment. I mean, I lived there for a long time, so I understand that terrain very, very well. And I've changed it. I've learned different things. I've shifted things around in my world. And now my life is not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. It is so much more, there's so much more ease. that I have in my life when I allow other people to be responsible for themselves and I take responsibility for me. There's so much more ease. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that wave that hit them in the daytime doesn't get a chance to sort of flip my boat. Do you understand? Okay, I hope this is being clear. If it's not, you can always ask questions. You can always ask questions. Now, this is one of those things we are going to actually, in the third segment of the show, get into some like in-depth questions. This is actually one of those mini workshop shows. So I'm going to really encourage you to grab a pen and paper if you haven't already. If you're not able to do that right now, go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com and look up either Jackie Mott or look up Time to Rise and Thrive, and you will find all of the recordings of the shows. So you can go back and you can watch this again. You can, then take the time to pause it and take your notes and write down the questions and so on and so forth. This one is going to be an in-depth question period. So I would highly, highly recommend that you take the time or go back to it later and find the time to write down the questions that I'm going to ask you to consider when we get to that segment. So let's get into what is this thing? Like, let's just talk about it. Okay. So where does this idea come from? And you know what kept on popping into my head as I was thinking about this? There's a scene in the Jerry Maguire movie. And if I'm not mistaken, it was, I don't even know where it was. It doesn't matter. There's a scene in that movie where it's one of them says to the other, "You complete me. You complete me." Now, in the space that I used to be in, that statement holds an awful lot of responsibility, right? It's my job to make sure that you are whole and complete. It's not my job to do that. You are whole and complete. I am whole and complete in our own space. What we can do is we can work to be that contribution, that space that brings, that tenderness or that love or that TLC or that support or that laughter, whatever it is that our friend or our partner or our family member needs in that moment. We can absolutely do that. We have to make sure it's not at the expense of our own stuff. Okay. So that's the first thing. Movies, TVs, books, religion have taught us that being selfish is a bad thing. It is a bad thing for us to put ourselves first. This is something that I really would like for you to just ponder. It doesn't have to be right now, but just ponder that for a second. Think about the people in your life that you know that are happy and fulfilled in their own lives. Think about those people for a second. And what I'd like you to do is just consider where are the differences between how you live and how they live, how you perceive yourself and how they perceive themselves. Look for differences and see what you can identify, because that can be one really interesting exercise to do. So again, our subliminal soundtrack contains all of those deeply ingrained, especially if they're coming from childhood or young adulthood or whatever. Those ones are really deeply ingrained in there. The good news is that when we start to understand how this thing works, we can get to the root of it. We can figure it out. And it doesn't even take that long. Once you understand how to do this thing, it doesn't take that long, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to create more supportive messages. It doesn't take an awful lot of effort at all. So when we do this work, what do? We pull these ideas out, we get an idea of where that belief system came from, and then we work with it to create a different way of being with whatever it is that we're talking about. And often this shows up with money, with relationships, with all kinds of different things. Okay. So that's where we're going. It is very, very, very easy for us to get caught up in this idea that is our responsibility or our obligation, and feel that word, our responsibility or obligation to take care of the needs of everyone else around us. It's very easy. We all wear a lot of hats. We all are busy. And if you're like me, you're somebody who jumps, who jumps in before necessarily you've taken the time to think about this thing and create a different way of being with it. Okay. It's very easy for us to get caught up in those ideas because of those deeply ingrained ideas. Now we have to go to our first break, but when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more about what some of these ideas are that could be causing us to get stuck in this area and what we can do about them. So again, you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. And today we are talking about how taking the focus off of others and putting it on ourselves can actually create more for us to give. So stick with us for a moment. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about how by taking the focus off of other people and putting it on ourselves, we can actually find ourselves with more to give. It's exciting, right? And it's a mindset shift. When we come at this thing, in the old way that I used to do it, when we come at this thing, it can be hard to understand that. So first thing that I really would like for us to address is, what do we get out of this? What is it that we get out of doing this? And I promise you, if you are somebody who is doing this or anything else, it's because there's a payoff. We don't do things where there's not something that we get out of it. Sometimes the thing that we get out of it is really not very healthy. And that's the thing that we're going to focus on in this part. So one of the things that I was thinking about was this idea of a sense of purpose, a sense of being needed, right? If we create a dependence from someone else on ourselves, then really what we're doing is we're creating an indispensability. I don't even know if that's a word, but we're making ourselves indispensable. And that's a whole different thing. We're causing them to need us in a way that maybe isn't so healthy and doesn't allow them to shine in their own right. Do you understand what I mean? So there's that sense of purpose. We don't, and this one could stick a little bit because it did for me when it came up. We don't have to take chances. We don't have to take risks, because as long as we are so busy seeing to the needs of everybody else, what do we need to change? It's easy for us to avoid the things that are happening inside us when we have that false sense of purpose. You have a purpose all by yourself. And again, if you are creating this relationship, this dynamic between you and another party where they now need you in order to function. They can't really do very well without you. Then it's that false sense of I'm needed. You're really not. You're really not needed. Every one of us knows what we need. Every one of us knows what feels good and what doesn't feel good. Every single one of us is capable of making ourselves making ourselves into this, like, I can't do for myself. Everybody's capable of that, but that is not the truth. It is not the truth. So when you start to shift out of that, the benefits that you're actually going to create in the relationships, because it's really where this shows up mostly. The benefit is that you are now going to give that person an opportunity to learn. You're going to give that person an opportunity to see themselves as a strong and whole and complete individual. And that allows them then to start to tap into those things that they are amazing at. Do you see? Yeah, there's a flip side to all of this, right? So we don't have to take chances, excuse me, by sort of what is that word? By flipping the script. That's not what I want to say, but it's the only thing that's popping into my head. We don't have to take chances. We don't have to go over or go out there and do the thing that we're here to do. We can be busy, 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 taking care of other things that really other people could be taken care of. And therefore, we don't have to face our fears of success, our fears of failure, any kind of other stuff. We don't have to stand up and say, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. Right? It's a very convenient excuse, isn't it? Yes, it is. Ouch. The other thing, it's that devil, right? So even the relationships where we have very, very unhealthy dynamics, it's the devil, we can be very comfortable with things that aren't good for us, can't we? Right. So the devil we know is, okay, this is going to exhaust me and it's going, like, whatever it is, right? And also I want to reiterate something I've said on the show before. This kind of dynamic will create resentment. It will create resentment, possibly on the person who is being caused to not stand on their own, and for the person who is become indispensable. Okay, it will cause some resentment. It will cause exhaustion. It will cause all kinds of really not good stuff. And do we want those relationships in our lives? I'm not saying you do. It's your choice. It's absolutely your choice. I decided that I needed to flip this around. My God, Christine, I can't talk today. So one of the other things about this whole idea is judgment. Okay. So we are walking into a situation with a judgment about what does it mean. So one of the things is, like, if I'm indispensable, then I'm needed and I'm valuable and I'm, like, whatever, right? Just continue on. And I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. So the judgment that causes us to believe that's true. And again, we're going back to that subliminal soundtrack, right? The judgment that causes that also holds us in place. So what does it mean to love someone? Does it mean that you give them everything that you have? I'm going to say very comfortably that very often moms and, other, whatever it is, right? But moms very often take this very seriously. If my child is unhappy, then I have to do something about it. One of the hardest things for me as a parent was getting into that adult shift in the relationship and coming to a place where I had to really understand that whatever he does that's his choice. It's his choice. If he chooses to continue to do things that make him unhappy, well, that's his choice. And those are the consequences of his choice. It is not my job to swoop in. It's not my job. Do you see? Right. So it's that judgment. What does it mean? And then, that Jerry Maguire thing again. That Jerry Maguire, you complete me. No. If you are depending on anyone else to complete you, then we need to talk, because that is a big problem. That is a big problem. You are beautiful and strong and smart and so many other things that you may not even realize it. Okay. You don't need someone else to complete you. What you're looking for is those people that come in and bring something unique, a different flavor to your life, a different activity that you didn't know you would enjoy. That's the thing that we need to be looking for in any and all relationships in our lives. You do not need someone to complete you. Okay. And again, if you feel like that's you, then I'm going to really, really encourage you to get in touch with me. Okay. We got to have a talk about that. We've got to have a talk about that. So we want to be a positive contribution to the people that we care about. That's perfectly normal. And in my humble opinion, that is part of loving someone, is we want to be a positive contribution. We want to give them an opportunity to enjoy their life more by our presence. Do you see what I'm saying? There must be reciprocation. In order to have a healthy relationship, there must be reciprocation. You get from me, I get from you, back and forth, back and forth. And in the really good ones, you feel really good when you're around that person, right? You feel really good when you are exchanging energies. It's not about this like, okay, they've clamped onto me and they're sucking me dry. It's about that we uplift each other, we enjoy each other, we create fun together, or whatever it is, we create together. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a totally different way of being. It's a totally different way of being. I require that I receive something of equal value. Maybe there's a thing that you do that other people can't do. I do income tax, right? I do income tax. And so I have that skill that a lot of people don't have. So maybe somebody else could come in and take care of, I don't even know, take care of something for me. And in exchange, I'm going to do their income tax. It doesn't necessarily have to be about dollar value or anything like that. It's about that reciprocation and contribution to each other. That is the thing that we need to have in order to have healthy relationships. It's about flow and ease. Okay. So in our next segment, we're going to talk more about this, but those relationships that cause you to feel heavy or drained or any of those kinds of things, that is not flow and it is not ease. Okay. You want to find the people that are easy for you to be around, that you look forward to spending time with. Okay. That's what we're going for here. So this doesn't necessarily have to. And this was an interesting thing that came up for me. I recently took a few days away and I went away and I had a nice room all to myself. And it was all about quiet and self-care and all of that stuff. And it was interesting because one of the things that came up for me while I was there was I went for this long walk. And over the last couple of years, I've had some health concerns. There's been a lot going on in my personal life. There's also been a pandemic. There's a bunch of factors that many of which were outside of my control, some of which were in my control because, I have to be responsible for my part, right? But what I recognized when I was away and I was on this big long walk and exploring and relaxing and just sort of taking care of myself, what I recognized is that I have not been taking very good care of myself. It's true. I have not been taking very good care of myself. And that's shown up in places in my life and in my body. And it's great when we have those kinds of awareness, as long as we're not attaching judgment to it. Because when we have this awareness of, what we've done or what we haven't done or whatever it is, when we have that awareness, that's when we put ourselves in a position to change something. Yes. So coming back from this little, couple of days that I had away, it was interesting because when I came back, I need to change these things. I know I need to change these things and I know I need to change them because this doesn't feel very good. Okay. So we're not coming at it from a place of, oh my God, look what you did. Right? No, there's no judgment. There's no judgment. There's no blame or shame or anything. It's awareness. It's okay, now I see it. Completely different, right? So that's what we're striving for. Doesn't have to necessarily be in your relationship with other people. This can be in your own relationship with yourself. And that is really the very most important relationship that any one of us should have in our lives. There is one person who will be with you from birth to death. One, only one. Parents come and go, children grow up and go to live their own lives, spouses come and go, or partners come and go, friends come and go. There is one person who will be with you from the moment you arrive on the planet until the moment that you leave. One. It should be the most important relationship in our lives, but we often don't stop to think about that, do we? Right. All right. So we're going to head to our next break. If you have not already done so, please grab your pen and paper. Please go grab that. Or again, you can find us on Inspired Choices Network and a bunch of other places, and get that recording so that you can make notes, because we are going to get in. There's questions. There's all kinds of stuff. It's going to be good. All right. So you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. When we come back, we are going to continue this conversation about how taking the focus off of other people and putting it on ourselves can actually create more for us to give to the people we care about. So stick with us for just a moment. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about what do you deserve? What do you deserve? So again, grab that pen and paper if you haven't already. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going on in our world, but what I want to share with you right now is that these things that I share on the show every week, almost all of them have come from hard-fought experience, falling down, getting back up, making mistakes, figuring out where I went wrong and how to correct them. Almost everything that I talk about on the show every week is about that stuff. And that is how I became aware of that subliminal soundtrack. It was because I started to understand that I was holding myself back. I was holding myself back because my belief systems did not sort of align with the things that I wanted to do with my life. So when we talk about these things, it is important for us to get clear on that stuff, because that's where the problem is. That's where often the problem is. So if you're stuck right now and you know that there's more that you could be doing, or you know that you need to make some changes in your life, or whatever the case may be, I would love to hear from you. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to make a gift of the Unstoppable You intensive session with me is 197 value. The first five who take advantage of this offer today and go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com. You can book your session there, and we will get together and we will start to unpack some of these things and unravel some of the stuff. This session is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my favorite things to do. I don't work with anybody without doing one of these sessions with them. So again, first 5 people, 197 value, my gift to you for taking action and making yourself a priority in your own life. So let's get into this. The first thing that I'm going to ask you is to take a relationship inventory with yourself and with everyone else in your life who's close to you. I mean, I know probably hundreds of people, so I'm not going to make a list necessarily of hundreds of people, but those who are very close to me would go on this list. All right. So take a relationship inventory. Ask yourself honestly, are my relationship with this person reciprocal and balanced? I'm sorry, is my relationship with this person reciprocal and balanced? What do I receive from this person and this relationship? When I'm around this person, how do I feel? Does this person truly desire my happiness and fulfillment? And the last question here, do I feel obligated or do I look forward to my time with them? Okay, so go back again onto the recording and get that list of questions. It's a little bit too much for me to go through in depth, but that's the list of questions. Now, when you are done your inventory, of, are my relationships with others reciprocal and balanced? So is my relationship with this person reciprocal and balanced? We are both contributing to each other. What do I receive from this person and this relationship? What's in it for me? What's in it for me here? When I'm around this person, how do I feel? Do they energize me? Do they make me feel good? Do they make me feel happy? Do they make me feel depleted and exhausted? How do I feel when I am around this person? Does this person truly desire my happiness and fulfillment? Do they desire for me to be just as happy as I would like for them to be? And do I feel obligated or do I look forward to my time with them? So those are your inventory questions with, say, the top 5 or 10 people in your life. Okay, the closest. So that could be a spouse or a partner. It could be a parent. It could be a child. It could be your friends. It could be your workmates. It could be anybody. So make a list of 5 to 10 names to start with. You can always add to it later. Okay, 5 to 10 names to start with and go through those questions for each one of those people. The next step, when you've done your inventory, is identify the relationships that feel healthy and reciprocal and those that don't. You could very quickly go through your list just with a highlighter or with a pen or pencil. You could check mark the ones that feel healthy and reciprocal and maybe put an X beside the others, or you could highlight the ones that, in different colors, whatever works for you. There's so many different ways to do these things, but we want you to identify which ones are healthy, reciprocal, balanced relationships and which ones are not. Okay. Now, our next step is for those that don't feel healthy and reciprocal. You need to consider who those people are. Who are they and what role do they play in your life? Okay, because some of these relationships, some people are going to respond well and they are going to work to shift the dynamics so that both of you are feeling fulfilled and happy and fed. Do you understand what I mean? We need to have that where we're both being fed energetically, emotionally, whatever it is. Okay? So this is the space where you get to consider, is it worth the effort? Is it worth the effort to attempt to make those sorts of changes in this relationship? So what I'm going to ask you to consider here is, if there is for example, an aunt or a cousin or a workmate or something like this that you interact with like once in a blue moon. Maybe you see them at weddings, maybe you see them at Christmas time, but once in a blue moon, this person comes into your orbit. It's probably not, unless you feel differently, it's probably not something that you necessarily would need to address with them or to attempt to shift that dynamic, even if it's kind of uncomfortable. Most of us can manage for a few hours, especially when we are prepared. Okay. If we know what to expect of somebody and we prepare ahead of time, we walk into that situation ready, right? We know what to expect. We're ready to go. We have our whatever plan in place. This is the kind of thing that maybe there's a cue between you and your spouse or your child or your parent that says, okay, if you see me scratching my face like this, you see me scratching my face like this, I need an out. Okay. So there are things that we can do even in those circumstances that just limit your availability to those people. Okay. If it's somebody that you are interacting with on a very regular basis, especially if it's like a spouse or a partner, very important foundational relationships in our lives. If it's somebody like that, then you really need to think about this stuff. And I would really, again, encourage you to take advantage of that call. Okay, that Unstoppable You intensive session with me, because we can unpack some of that stuff in that session and it doesn't cost you a penny, right? Yes. Okay. So consider who that person is and the role they play in your life currently. Our next thing is to make a choice about how to move forward. So this is again incorporating what we just talked about. If you know that somebody shows up in a certain way, just be prepared for them. Just be prepared. Limit the contact with the people that you can. Don't necessarily answer the phone all the time or engage all the time. Or, I've heard people say, when I get on the phone with a certain person, I have a point where I go, oh, okay, I'm sorry, my other line is ringing. I've got to go. They don't know, right? You be in the driver's seat. You decide when you've hit your limit. You decide what's okay and what's not. Okay. This is all up to you. Yes. Oh, and one really important thing. You don't have to cut people off if you don't want to. You may have to create some healthy boundaries. You may have to, create some limitations. You don't have to cut anybody out that you don't want to. Okay? This is up to you. This is all your choice. And quite frankly, I mean, if you're happy staying in those dynamics that I'm calling unhealthy right now, have at her. God bless you. Keep going. All right. Don't listen to what I'm saying unless it resonates for you. If it resonates for you, then you know that there's something there that maybe needs to be looked at a little bit more closely. So make a choice about how to move forward. And the last step in this is take action. So if you need to have a difficult conversation with somebody, have the difficult conversation with them. If you need to create those boundaries that keep you feeling safe and you feeling like, I can manage this. I can manage half an hour. I can manage an hour, whatever it is, right? Before it starts to affect me, I can manage that. It's fine. You get to make that decision. Okay. Create your boundaries, have the conversations that you need to have, limit your time with certain people if you need to. If someone is really toxic, then maybe you do need to release them from your life. And one very, very important thing to consider here, there are people in our world who would like to make it our responsibility to not upset them. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. There are people who would like to make it our responsibility to not upset them. Their emotions are not your responsibility. Their feelings are not your responsibility. You are your responsibility. And that is one of those things that is a really great red flag to watch out for. Okay. If you start to hear somebody saying, you can't do this because I already told you I have this, this. Do you see what I'm saying? Don't upset me. Don't upset me. I don't know. Maybe I'm too fragile. I don't know, but it is not your responsibility to concern yourself with other people's emotions or feelings. It is your responsibility to take proper care of yourself, and you deserve happiness. You deserve reciprocal relationships that feed you, that make you feel good, that help you move in the direction of whatever it is, because that's the thing that happens when we have those people in our lives who truly want our happiness and our fulfillment. They will do what they can to support that. They're not going to sort of get in the way and stand there and say, nope, you're not getting around me. Nope, you can't do that because it's going to make me feel. Nope, you can't do that because it's going to take time away from, whatever. None of that is your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be true to yourself and to treat other people with as much kindness as respect as you can, while maintaining yourself as a top priority in your life. Now, an aside on this is I did write an article that was called 5 Reasons You Need to Be a Top Priority in Your Life. This article tells you so much. It gives you so much of an understanding of what we're actually doing, what we're creating, what we are putting out into the world by having these different roles. So if you're at all interested, send me an email, Jackie@jackiemott.com. Contact me through Facebook. You can find me there, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. You can even go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com and contact me through that website. So if you would like that article, absolutely thrilled to provide that information to anybody who would like that. Please just get in touch and I will send it to you. So this is where we start to go through our summarizing of what we've gone through, what we've talked about in today's show. So here's the thing. When we are coming out of this sort of space where we have had those types of relationships where we feel responsible, we feel obligated, we feel indispensable, we feel all of those sorts of things that we're talking about. And as a result, we are putting all of our effort on other people. When we come out of that, there is a very simple truth that may be hard for us to understand right in the beginning. All right. And that is simple. You deserve to enjoy your life. You deserve to enjoy your life. So, what could happen if we started to function from that place of seeking joy, seeking fulfillment, seeking relationships that feed us and allow us to feed and contribute to the other party? What could happen in your relationship, in any relationship? And again, I'm not talking about, could be your spouse, could be friends, could be parents, could be children, could be anybody. Okay. But what could shift in your own world if you made yourself a top priority and your happiness, your fulfillment, your whatever? What could happen? The entire world can shift for you. That is the truth. When you start to be fed by the people that are around you and allow yourself to receive what they have to give. Okay. And we're talking about reciprocation. We're talking about honoring and I see you. I know who and what you are, and I'm here and I want to support you. Okay. When we start to surround ourselves with those sorts of people, so much starts to shift. The resentments drop away. the resentments of, you know what, I have given so much to you. And that's that victim mindset thing, right? That victim mindset where we kind of roll around in this space of I'm not getting what I deserve. Do you see what I'm saying? That victim mindset will hold us in that sort of, and that's where that real resentment comes into play. If I hadn't spent all of that time, money, attention on you, then maybe, right? I mean, we've all heard people talking like that. We've all heard people talking. So we want to have those dynamics that are like giving and taking, all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, we've gone over reciprocation a lot. So I'm sure you understand what that means. You are allowed to live on your terms. You are allowed to make choices and decisions that are honoring of you and purely for your own benefit. You are allowed to do all of those things. You're allowed to surround yourself with people who truly desire to see you happy. You are allowed to require something of the people that you allow to get close to you. You're allowed all of these things. I don't quite know how we got so off track, because I know for myself for many, 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 many years, I did not understand any of this. And when I started to make these shifts, there was tremendous guilt that came into that as I started to work through my own healing and my own mindset issues. Do you see what I'm saying? So there was guilt. There was, oh my God, it was so ugly, the kinds of things that came up. But now on the other side of that, now I have those strong relationships that are built on mutual respect and mutual contribution and mutual, all of that honor, love, all of that kind of stuff. So if you're in this position, again, first 5 of you who take advantage of going to www.bookacallwithjackie.com and send me your information for an Unstoppable You intensive session. First 5 get it free of charge. Okay. So take action on that. We are right now down to the wire. We've got just a couple of minutes left. So the quote that I would like to leave you with today: you deserve to enjoy your life as much as everyone else does. You deserve to have fun, joy, fulfillment in your life, and ease and comfort in your relationships. It's not your job to make anyone else happy. It is your job to support the ones you love in creating happiness for themselves. By shifting your focus and making yourself a top priority in your life, you will actually create more to share with others. And you'll probably be much more pleasant company. It's completely up to you, my friend. What do you choose? What do you choose? So that's what I've got for you today. Thank you so very much for joining me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. We will be back next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We will be back. And next week's show is, Let It Breathe. Next week's show is called Let It Breathe. And we're going to be talking about this idea of slowing down and taking stock, slowing down and paying attention to what's happening, maybe even reevaluating the things that are happening in the situation in order to make those choices that are honoring of you. Very often, we find ourselves in these positions where we don't really know what we're getting ourselves into until we're there. Do you know what I mean? So we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to sort of reevaluate and see where we are. So that's what we're going to be talking next week. So again, we are live Fridays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central. And I don't even know what the other are. You can figure that out. You've got your time zone sorted. Thank you again so much for being with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. Again, my name is Jackie Mott, and I am a mindset and empowerment expert. I hope to see you back here next week. Time to Rise and Thrive. Oh, and don't forget, find the recording on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. We are here every Friday enjoying our time. This is my favorite time of week. It really is. It really is something that I enjoy more than most things. Working with people and talking about this stuff, it's so much fun for me. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.